The rematch between Oleksandr Usyk and Daniel Dubois will take place tonight in England. Here is my breakdown and prediction for this fight. Let's start with Oleksandr Usyk. Since he fought Daniel Dubois 2 years ago, he has had 2 fights. In his 2 fights since then, he fought Tyson Fury 2 times. Those were 2 tough fights, but Oleksandr Usyk won both of those. Daniel Dubois lost to Oleksandr Usyk. He, some people would say that they think he quit, and I could perhaps agree on that. It looked a little bit like he couldn't take the heat anymore, more so than that he was knocked out. He succumbed to the pressure, sort of. That's what it felt like looking at that fight. Since then, something big has happened. Daniel Dubois has regrouped and come back from that in a very, very strong way. He first faced Jarrell Miller. A lot of people thought that he was going to get run hot in that fight and ultimately get stopped again. He proved all the doubters wrong. He wasn't a quitter anymore. He became stronger mentally. He became better technically in the ring. And he beat up Jarrell Miller big, and he stopped him in the 10th round. Since then, he has had another 2 good wins. In his last fight, right now, his very last fight, he fought Anthony Joshua, and that fight ended with him knocking Anthony Joshua out cold. So that was very, very impressive. Between those 2 fights, he fought Filip Hrgovic, and he outmuscled him too, and was very aggressive. So that's 3 fights: Jarrell Miller, Filip Hrgovic, and Anthony Joshua. 3 good wins since he fought Oleksandr Usyk the last time. And I personally think that those 3 wins, very good wins, they have evolved Daniel Dubois and taken him to another level. Not the least mentally. This game is very mental, as most of you know that follow the sport. Daniel Dubois is so much stronger mentally right now than he was before. Now he really knows what he is capable of doing. I don't think he really knew that when he fought Usyk the first time. He hasn't had any kind of wins like he has now. And the thing is, if you look at Daniel Dubois' career, even his loss to Joe Joyce, do you know how young he still is? It feels like he's had a long career. But if you look at his age right now, after all of these wins and losses, some of them, all of these fights that he's had, he's still 27 years old. That's really nothing. And he's in his prime physically, and he's gained so much experience, and he's only 27 years old. So I think he has a much better chance today than he had in that fight 2 years ago. Usyk is still, of course, a great fighter. He's a great fighter. I really like Usyk. But the thing is, he's had those 2 fights with Tyson Fury since. They were taxing on him. They were tough. Tyson Fury is very heavy and big. We can't say that. I don't think there is any chance that, let's say, since they fought the last time, that Usyk is in any way better now than he was 2 years ago. I don't think you can say that. It's not like he's still getting better. I would say the other way around. He's probably losing a little bit of himself for every fight now that he goes on. He's 38 years old. He will be 39 the next time he has a birthday, which is not too far from now. So not long to be 39 years old. Daniel Dubois is 27 years old. So while I said that Oleksandr Usyk probably is not getting better, I'm almost certain that he's not getting any better now. He's the fighter he is. He's a great fighter. We can at least say that Daniel Dubois is getting better. That is obvious. He's getting better technically. Punching hard, he's always punched hard, in my opinion. He punches very, very hard. He's very strong, always been strong. But he's much better technically, and he's much better mentally. This fight will be taking place in England. Oleksandr Usyk has never been screwed on the scorecards. He has never had an unfair shake on the scorecards, and he's one of those really throwback fighters. He has fought in almost every opponent's, home advantage. He's been the traveling fighter for many of his professional fights, if not all of them, most of them. And he's accustomed to fighting all over the world, and people love him all over the world, and he has been given a fair shake. But to the defense of that, many of the fights haven't been too close. so it's been difficult to rob him. He had a fight against Mairis Briedis in Briedis' hometown in Latvia. Well, I believe one of the judges had that fight a draw, so that was a fairly close fight. But there is a first time for everything. Now he's fighting in the UK again. Daniel Dubois, we know that he is better. I don't think that he will quit again. I don't see that. I can't see that happening. Really, I just can't see him quit again. If he gets stopped, he will get that will be the result of him getting knocked out. I do not see him taking a knee, no matter what happens. He will bring the heat. He will throw a lot of punches. No doubt about it. Usyk is the better boxer of the two. Better rhythm, better everything. Really, it's just that Daniel has some physical advantages that could show up more now than ever. He's like I said before, he's stronger mentally, he's better technically, and it could be that Usyk's just a little bit on the way down, little bit on the decline, not much, just a little bit. This could be enough to make this fight really close. If it goes to the scorecards, this could be much closer than people think. People think that Usyk is just going to play with him and outbox him very easily again. I don't think this will happen again. I just don't think so. Usyk could win, of course. If Usyk wins, I personally don't see him getting a stoppage here. I think he wins a decision. If Usyk wins this time, he doesn't stop him again. Daniel Dubois, we're not going to get too much into the supposedly low blow. I'm on the fence between those. I don't think it was too very, very low, and I don't think it was like a legal shot. It was just on a gray zone, almost on the hip line. We're not going to get too much into that. It's just that it's obvious that Dubois can hurt Usyk to the body. If he hurts him, I think he would hurt him to the body. That can happen. That could happen. I could also see this fight being really close on the scorecards, going till the end. Making it to the scorecards, and I honestly wouldn't be really super shocked if Daniel Dubois would win a decision. I'm not saying this is the most likely outcome, but I wouldn't be super shocked. I think Daniel Dubois is more likely to win this if he ends this fight with a punch of some sorts, but it could be very close on the scorecards. Oleksandr Usyk has never gotten the short end of the stick on the scorecards. That could be the first time it happens today. We really don't know. If you're new to this channel, thank you for watching our content, and if you could subscribe to the channel, that would help us a whole lot, and ring the bell so you always get notified when we upload new videos. And please share with us, have I missed anything in this breakdown? You can share that with us in the comments on this video, and I will be sure to respond to each and every one of you. We appreciate having you here. Before you go, we're going to hear a few words from my partner, Breadman Edwards, one of the greatest boxing minds we have in our sport. Let's see what he has to say on Oleksandr Usyk and Daniel Dubois, the rematch. I'm joined by my partner, Breadman Edwards, one of the greatest boxing minds we have in our sport. Steven, we're going to start with the big heavyweight fight tonight between Oleksandr Usyk and Daniel Dubois. A lot has happened since their first meeting. Before we get into that, let me just ask you, we've never talked about this. What did you think about that blow that was supposedly low in their first fight, before we get into the prediction?
I think Usyk does seem really sensitive to punches at his body. He kind of complains about it a lot. I think technically the blow was a little low, but I don't know if it hit him in his actual groin. You know what I mean? Because you can be low and not be in the actual groin. And I think that that's what there was a case of. I think he could have got up. People think that, it's a knockout or a knockdown. I think he acted like that because the referee ruled it a low blow. Had the referee told him it was a knockdown and he had to get up, I think he would have.
Yeah.
I
think so too.
I think that we kind of make too much out of it. Like, well, Usyk was on the ground for over 10 seconds. I'm like, well, that's because it was because of the ruling. Usyk is too great and too competitive of a fighter to not have gotten up.
It's true.
But overall, I think that he dominated the Bulls and he made them quit and he knocked them out with a jab. So I don't really I know the Bulls has improved. I know he's a strong guy. I know he's a tough guy. But Usyk was beating him up, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And I
you're
think
right.
that Usyk is special. And
It really
basically,
is.
the heavyweights just can't keep up to his pace, and that's why I've always believed that 6'3", 220 pounds is all you need as a heavyweight fighter.
Yeah.
And I know Usyk is 38, and he may be slipping, but I'm not going to pick against him until he loses a fight.
But why did Dubois have such a hard time finding him in their first fight? He really couldn't, he couldn't build up any type of attack. Was it that he was too
Um,
slow on the feet, or what was it? He had a hard time
it's
reaching
not
him.
it's not just slow; it's slow processing mentally, being able to
Hmm.
compute what you're seeing, analyze it, and then solve it and at a very fast pace. And I just don't think that most of the heavyweights can. And you know, that's why you see a 220 or 215 or 10-pound man knock out a 210-pound man because the smaller
Yeah.
man is processing faster. Even Wilder, who's not as great as a boxer as Usyk is, he had a lot of success hitting big guys because they just couldn't react and process his right hand in time because it was coming so fast when he was in his prime.
Yeah, that's true. But there is one thing, Steven, I wanted to ask you about. So one thing has happened since their first fight. So it's been around 2 years. Since that fight, Oleksandr Usyk has fought Tyson Fury 2 times. Is it safe to assume that, I would say so, but I want to hear your take. Is it safe to assume that Oleksandr Usyk is at this point not getting any better? He should not be any better today than he was 2 years ago. Would you agree on that, or what do you think?
No, I don't want to safely assume it because you know um, at this stage of his career, what he is everything is fight specific, and the truth is that he had more trouble with Fury than he had with Dubois,
Yeah,
and
100%.
he might be able to adjust to Dubois, and we may see a Usyk of the first fight of every round besides the knockdown round. I don't know. Usyk hasn't really shown major signs of slippage to me. So
Hmm.
if he's, I don't know if he's actually going to be better, but if he can maintain his form, he should be fine. And guys like him, they rise to the occasion.
Yes, he always does. He always finds a way to win. That was the first thing that was on my mind. That I don't think that he really shouldn't be any better. But like you said, maybe he's still on that same level where he's still performing at
Mm-hmm.
that high level. But if we talk about Dubois on the other hand, he had that fight against Usyk, but since then he has amassed three very good wins in my opinion. First against Jarrell Miller, then against Philip Hergovich, and then against Anthony Joshua. We can if we think about his mental aspect, Daniel Dubois, he must be feeling better than he has ever felt before.
Well, he's a guy that probably has some confidence issues after the Joe Joyce fight, and then
Yeah,
especially after the Usyk fight. So the fact that he's been able to turn things around and look this good and get back to a certain place in his career, I have a lot of respect for him being able to rebound his career the way he has.
definitely. But do you think, because I got the impression when he was talking, like, I can't promise it for sure, of course, but I just cannot see him taking a knee in this fight. I really cannot see that. If he gets stopped, I think he gets knocked out. I just can't see him surrendering in this fight. Not anymore. He has changed. I think so.
Um, we got to see. I won't disagree with you, but we still have to see because he did take the knee. That's what happened. You know what I mean? So maybe Usyk
Yeah,
is a guy who can push him past that threshold. I don't know.
maybe.
Some guys never get knocked out flat on their back. Some guys always kind of find a way. I don't know. I don't know enough about the Bulls, but I do know that his two losses have been similar. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's done it kind of twice. So let's just see. I'm not criticizing him, but
that's
Joe
true.
Joyce and the Usyk fights, they both kind of look similar. So if somebody would have said, I don't think he's going to do that again, what he did to Joyce, he did do it again. So I don't know. I don't know.
That's
Let's
true.
just see.
And another thing that's really interesting, if you look at his record, it feels like he's been around for a good while. It was a long time ago when he fought Joe Joyce. He's been around at that high level for some time. If you look at his
Yeah,
record, he's still 27 years old.
yeah,
He's really young. He's in his
yeah,
best years physically, still
yeah,
only 27 years old. So
yeah.
there is a chance that, his behavior of old has changed, that he has gotten stronger mentally. that he went to that dark place and he took so much heat for being a, I don't want to say quitter, but that's what people were saying about him. That
Mhm.
that he can have, he can have evolved and changed. That he, might have decided for himself that he's not going to allow himself to do that anymore. Is that a possibility, do you think?
Sure it is. Sure it is. We got to just see. Boxing is a
Yeah.
funny sport. Sometimes your DNA is your DNA, and then sometimes you learn to overcome things. I've seen fighters go both ways with that. Vitaly
Hmm.
Klitschko, he uh, he kind of surrendered in the corner where he had a shoulder injury against Chris Bird, and I think that he was probably angry with himself because he did that. So the next time he was in that situation, he was willing to fight through his eye falling out against Lennox Lewis because he was angry with himself
Unbelievable.
for the Lennox Lewis. I mean, for the Chris Bird performance. So he didn't care about his health and his safety because his pride had got attacked because people talked about him from the Chris Bird injury, and I believe it was a
Hmm.
real injury. He was winning the fight,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
things happen, and then you have guys. I don't want to say anybody's name, but then you have guys who quit multiple times. So everybody's
Yeah.
different when it comes down to that.
But tell us, Stephen, how does Daniel Dubois win this fight? What does he have to do?
He has to find a better way of keeping Usyk in front of him, timing him a little bit more, and not just hitting him to the body, countering him to the body. Because
Hmm.
if he counters Usyk to the body, then Usyk doesn't have a chance to brace for the punch as much.
Yeah, that's true. So looking at the odds, Usyk is a steady minus 400 favorite. You can get Dubois at a plus 300. What does your gut tell you in a fight like this? Where's the value?
Uh, Usyk, Usyk, and the over is the value for me. I'm
By
not picking
decision?
against Usyk. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to beat the Bulls by decision, but I would hedge it with another late stoppage because Usyk stoppages are not just from power; they're from fatigue,
And
and
pressure
fatigue
and all
makes
that.
cowards of anybody. If you can't breathe, you can't breathe. And
Hmm.
a lot of these big heavyweights, they just can't breathe when they're dealing with him. They can't breathe. That's a real thing. He's not
Yeah.
allowing them to breathe. And because of that, I'm still confident that Usyk wins either decision or a late stoppage.
Would you say late stoppage like the prop that is 9 to 12 or 10 to
Yeah,
12?
9-12.
All right. So you're saying Oleksandr Usyk by decision or a late stoppage between 9 to 12. That seems like the best value.
Yes.
I agree on that. And we'll see how it turns out for Daniel Dubois. All the best to them. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Goodbye.